Hey folks, what's up? It's CS back here with another installment, and here is my review for The Ultimate Fighter 14 finale. Alrighty folks, well, what did you guys think of that? You know, in my honest opinion, for the cheapest card in the UFC since the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, damn, that was very good. You know, some solid fights and finishes out of the preliminary card, but that main card was, in my opinion, very nasty. You know, we saw 4 out of the 5 fights, with a finish. Of course, Tony Ferguson and Eve Edwards, they had a solid fight themselves. But yeah, that Diego Brandao, damn, that was nice. You know what I'm saying? But let's start off in the main event between Michael Bisping and Jason Mayhem Miller. Alrighty, folks. Well, the story of this fight was Michael Bisping has better wrestling, better boxing, better cardio, equals win. You know what I'm saying? Jason Mayhem Miller, he's the better submission grappler, and that's all he's got on Bisping. Of course, in round 1, he kind of came out there with guns ablaze, throwing low kicks, throwing looping punches, trying to throw combinations, not exactly hitting Bisping, but he was aggressive enough to the point where Bisping couldn't, find his rhythm on the feet, at all. Bisping's, had a tendency of being a slow starter in the past, and that's what we saw in this round 1 as well. Of course, he also got taken down. I think he was surprised by that. And once Mayhem got to the ground, he went quick to work. Of course, he figured forward his legs around Bisping's, and he was doing minimal damage from the top. But although it was minimal, it was definitely enough for him to pick up that 10-9 in that round 1. Come round 2, Mayhem, he was tired. What can I say? I didn't expect him to gas like that, but he did. Bisping, he turned it up because of that. His work rate is usually pretty good. We saw it against guys like Vanderlei Silva, Yoshiro Akiyama. They just couldn't beat the heat, and Bisping just keeps going. Whatever he needs to do, defend takedowns, keep his opponent at bay, jab, and then come in, do a combination, move in and out. Yeah, that's Michael Bisping MMA, and then he continued that in round 3 after he picked up that 10-9 in round 2. Come round 3, Mayhem completely gassed, in my opinion. He kind of came there rushing in forward, couldn't get shit off. Bisping, I believe, rocked him a couple of times. Mayhem found himself on the ground, and eventually he found himself in the fetal position, covering up like this, and, Bisping was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him, knees, punches, elbows maybe, I don't know, but he got that boy, and Steve Mazzagatti had to stop that shit. Round 3 TKO for Michael Bisping. So definitely a solid win for Michael Bisping. But folks, what is next for Michael Bisping? He's on this 4-fight winning streak, and he keeps facing the same type of competition, either, inferior strikers or submission grapplers with inferior wrestling. These are matchups tailor-made for him to win. Is he finally going to get a step up in competition? Like, how many straight wins does he have to get against guys he should beat until he gets a top 10 or not? Because it's kind of getting ridiculous how they keep shielding this guy, so I think it's kind of sickening. But who knows who he gets next? We'll see. If you guys want to tell me who you think he might get next, tell me in the comment section below. As for Jason Mayhem Miller, who knows? Maybe he starts doing a show again. I don't know. Like, the guy has a lot of things going on, so we'll see. I prefer to see him back in the UFC, preferably against a guy like, I don't know, Tom Lawler comes to mind. Both guys are charismatic. Both guys have funky entrances, and they have similar styles, so I think that would be an interesting fight. But let's move on to the featherweight final between Diego Brandao and Dennis Bermudez. And the award for sexiest finish in tough history goes to Diego Brandao, of course, over Dennis Bermudez. Nice comeback armbar win with like 9 seconds left to go in the round. That was sexy. Damn, wow. 4 first-round finishes to win the Ultimate Fighter. And that last one was the flashiest. Holy crap. Diego Brandao, probably the best Ultimate Fighter winner in a while. That was rather impressive. He can even win when, he's hurt and shit. That was just awesome. But let's break this down. Of course, Dennis Bermudez, he catches him with a right hook, I believe. Diego did the stanky leg and dropped on the floor to his back. Dennis proceeds to just, pounce into his guard and just wail away on him with a ground and pound, and he just couldn't get the job done. Diego showed awesome recovery skills. He went for a leg lock, couldn't get it because Dennis stood back up. Then Dennis proceeds to ground pound him away again, and then Diego just showed, awesome recovery skills again. Went for an arm, you know, got the armbar, and Dennis was tapping before Diego even rolled over. Wow, that was amazing. You know, I couldn't believe that happened. Shit, I'm still in shock. Easily come back of the year for me. You know, you might give it to Czech Congo, that's cool. But to finish a dude with a submission when you're hurt like that, fuck. I didn't even think he was going to make it out of that first round, but to win the first round himself, damn, with that, you know, I gotta give it up to Diego Brandao. Dangerous ass fighter at featherweight. Shit, man. You know, good for him. Clearly there are some things he has to work on, like, you know, not getting hit, but damn, he has some recovery skills. So props to Diego Brandao for, you know, winning the Ultimate Fighter featherweight division, and of course Bermudez. To even hurt Diego Brandao is an accomplishment in itself, so props to him because he did something that no one else could, and that's, you know, hurt him or just connect cleanly and actually drop him. So props to Dennis for that, but again, congratulations go out to Diego Brandao. But now let's move on to the bantamweight final between TJ Dillashaw and John Dodson. Props to John Dodson for becoming the bantamweight winner. Let's take a look at how this went down. Guys, I did pick TJ Dillashaw. You know, I thought that he would handle whatever stand-up John Dodson would come at him with, you know, absorb that, maybe land some offense of his own. But I thought he was ultimately going to time a takedown and keep John Dodson there and do that over the course of 3 rounds. Just, you know, if John Dodson did get back up, you know, somehow take him down again by timing another takedown and just, you know, rinse and repeating over the course of 3. But that didn't happen. You know, he was trying to do that, timing a takedown against John Dodson, but, you know, that's kind of hard. You know, that's kind of like trying to time not getting taken down by Demetrius Johnson, you know what I'm saying? It's just John Dodson has, you know, too much movement. He's too quick. He's too hard to get a hold of. Thinking back on it, I think TJ's best shot at taking John Dodson to the ground would be, you know, just straight up going after him like Chael Sonnen would. And, you know, he didn't do that, and he just stayed on the feet too long for John Dodson to eventually land a nice, you know, combination on him, or was it just a right? I know he did the stanky leg and everything, and he eventually got stopped due to strikes, but, you know, he just didn't go for enough takedowns in the end. That's it. You know, John Dodson finished him with punches. You could argue that the stop was a bit premature, but, you know, he would have got finished eventually in that round anyway, I think. So it's whatever. It's definitely not the worst stoppage I've seen, but props to John Dodson for winning the Ultimate Fighter once again. Now let's take a look at that lightweight scrap between Yves Edwards and Tony Ferguson. Damn, that Tony Ferguson can box, you know, shit. You know, I know he has a wrestling background, but he picked up that stand-up pretty well. I know his camp was emphasized on trying to knock Yves Edwards out, but, you know, he did a good job of just outboxing him over the course of 3. You know, Yves Edwards just, you know, couldn't exactly get anything going in terms of having, you know, offense that could hurt Tony Ferguson. Sure, he was scoring with kicks and punches and combinations of his own, but he just couldn't hurt Tony the way he usually does most people. And, you know, Tony Ferguson was just throwing too high of a volume of punches, and occasionally it would rock Yves Edwards, but Yves Edwards himself showed good recovery, so good for him. But Tony Ferguson just threw too many punches, you know, from all kinds of directions. You know, he was throwing straight punches, hooks, crosses, and yeah, he showed solid head movement as well. You know, Yves couldn't exactly hit him flush that many times throughout the fight. So solid win for Tony Ferguson. What's next for him? I'm thinking the winner of the Edson Barboza and Terry Edom fight, you know, whoever wins that would be still on a win streak, on the come up, young. I think it makes sense if they face Tony Ferguson. As for Yves Edwards, who knows? Maybe Spencer Fisher and the loser retires. I think that would make sense. But yeah, Tony Ferguson, Yves Edwards, they had a pretty solid fight. Alright folks, now let's move on to that bantamweight bout that kicked off the main card between Luis Gaudano and Johnny Bedford. Guys, Bedford clowned this guy, you know, on the feet. He was beating him to the punch, but he ultimately won this on the ground where he was, you know, just clowning him, eventually getting mount after taking him down at will. You know, he did that over the course of 3 rounds essentially, and then from there he was just using solid ground and pound, solid top control, just keeping Lewis grounded, and of course in round 3 eventually finished him with knees. So that's a rather impressive victory for Johnny Bedford. Who knows who he gets next? As for Luis Gaudano, we'll see if he's back in the UFC. I doubt it. Let's take a look at the rest of the bouts. Preliminary card, I picked Stephen Bass over Marcus Brimage. You know, Brimage was the aggressor. He landed more power shots in the first couple rounds, and he picked up that fight, and some people argued he picked up round 3 as well. Good win for Marcus Brimage. Next bout, John Albert versus Dustin Peg. I picked Dustin Peg by UD, I believe. John Albert, just blitzed that boy and put him out via TKO in the first round. So solid win for John Albert. Roland Delorme versus Josh Ferguson. I picked Ferguson to avenge his brother's loss before the house. Delorme got him again, so he submitted both brothers. So solid win for Roland Delorme. Steven Seiler over Josh Clopton. Yeah, I picked Seiler in that bout. He won via UD. And Brian Caraway over Dustin Ease. Caraway, picked up an easy victory via submission in round 2. So that's about it for, reviewing this shit. So there it is, folks. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the card and my review. And hopefully you guys will stay tuned for my UFC 140 picks, which should be up shortly. So, yeah, stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you once again for all the support. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll leave my links somewhere on the screen if you want to check those out. Also, thumbs up if you liked the video, and yeah, that's it. So thank you again, and take care.